Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm just going to be going through some interesting facts about stem cell technology. Stem cell technology is one of the techniques that we use here at the Ackerman Alignment Center. Now, I have heard, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, I read an article about a doctor who was having incredible success treating professional sportsmen with a stem cell technology. It was a stem cell technique. So he was using a natural solution to enhance stem cell production. And basically these professional sportsmen, these professional athletes have had unbelievable results as compared to people who have gone to a physiotherapist or a chiropractor or a physical therapist, or maybe they've tried to succeed their healing success through pharmaceutical medication, the pharmaceutical lines of treatment. Now let me just state this, just for fact, all right, that pharmaceutical medication does not work. Period. It does not work. Yes, surgery, absolutely. There are some cases where surgical operations are successful. However, even that is a very dodgy subject, a very dodgy field to go into. And I'll explain to you why I believe that. So in today's discussion, I'm going to be talking about stem cell technology. I'm going to be talking about Tiger Woods, who is the world champion golf player. I'm going to be speaking about Tiger Woods' surgery, his series of surgical treatments that he had, and how that led to disappointments and then eventually led to success. Yeah. We're going to be talking about the type of technology, the type of research that I'm doing here at the Ozone Center, at OSCA, which is the Ozone Stem Cell Adenosine Redox Center. Okay, so let me just explain. That's a big mouthful of words, isn't it? OSCA. Yeah. When you think of OSCA, it sort of brings your mind back to one of the early TV programs that I used to love watching, and it was called The $6 Million Man, with Steve Austin, who was the astronaut, and Steve Austin, Lee Majors. He was one of my favorite actors, Lee Majors, probably because of The $6 Million Man. But as a kid, I used to love watching that show, and especially the introduction. You got the introduction, dun 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 dun, and you got Steve Austin running, in that introduction before the episode began. But yeah, you've got that story about Oscar, who was the CIA operative who ran missions and who would send the $6 million astronaut into these various secret missions that Steve Austin had to accomplish in defeating the enemies of the United States. Very interesting topic, and it's amazing how how these thoughts and these memories stay with us, you know, all through our life, and it becomes an embedded memory. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about embedded memory. Embedded memory. What is embedded memory? Embedded memory is basically a situation where, you know, you can have a series of injuries that you have overcome. And it may have been 4 or 5 years, might have been 10 years, it may have been even longer, it may have been 20 years. And what happens is that when we have these injuries leave a pattern, they leave a scar. Now, those scars can be either emotional, they can be mental, and they can actually literally be organic. They can be organic. What do I mean by organic? I mean embedded in tissue. Yeah, we can have scar tissue. And, you know, I'm actually related to one of the most preeminent bone doctors in Australia. He came from Prussia. He was German, and he was a famous bone doctor. What do I mean by a bone doctor? Well, he actually broke the bones. Yeah, he would break the bone and reset the bone. So let's say, for instance, you had an accident. Yeah. What happens is that there was a particular time when these people who are living in the country, people who were living on farms, people who were living in a remote area, there were people living in remote areas who did not have access to specialist doctors. They didn't have access to academic accredited doctors. Of course, that's very different now, okay? But I am actually related to one of the very first bone doctors of Australia. Now, these bone doctors, they were not, let me just say this, they were not respected by the medical profession, but they were respected by the community of people. They were respected by the residential community. So they didn't have all the accolades, you know, the figures after their name, the degrees and medical degrees. You can see all the medical degrees after my name, okay? Well, these early doctors, my relative did not have all of those early, did not have all of those degrees, because, I mean, science was in its research. Science was developing at the very time when my relative was treating people in the community for these bone-related illnesses. Bone-related. And so these people who are living on a farm, on a remote farm, when I say remote, I mean a farm that is many, many kilometers or miles from the local hospital. Okay, and you have to remember that the transport that was available, I'm talking about like the early 1860s, the early 1914, the year 1914, where transport was simply a horse and a buggy. That's all they had. They had a horse and a buggy. That was it. If they wanted to go shopping, you know, they would have to predict the weather. They would have to predict that they had enough money. They would have to go through extensive planning if they ever wanted to leave their farms, and go to the local town centre and do their shopping, or have any type of professional services completed. And so my relative, he was in the farming community. He was living in the farming community, and he would assist people who had ligament injury, bone injury, any type of injury. And he used hydropathic medicine. What do I mean by hydropathic? Well, the word hydro means water, H2O. Hydro means a system of hot and cold treatments, okay? Now, of course, not a lot of research was known about hot and cold until Van Hoff came on the scene. And it was through the research, and Van Hoff was, he developed the principles of thermotherapy, medical thermotherapy. I have a master's degree in medical thermotherapy through Loma Linda University. It's a 3-year degree, and so thermotherapy was used in the earlier days before the antibiotics came on the scene. Of course, that was a remarkable discovery, invention, antibiotics. But antibiotics do not treat a ligament fracture or a bone fracture, a torn ligament or a tendon, because there is very poor blood supply to these deep-lying organs. These organs are the organs that have connective tissue. They have muscle tissue. And so the community, the farming community, would come and to my relative, and if they had fallen off a horse and broken a bone, of course, you would have to get that bone at a very early stage, and he would break the bone, and then he would reset it. He was a bone breaker. He reset the bone, and that was his job. His job was to fix a bone that had broken, that had not matted correctly, had not mended correctly. Yeah. So tissues must mend perfectly. They must match perfectly. And so, that was my relative. My relative was an actual bone doctor. And here I am today. I'm a bone doctor. Yeah. So that's a little bit about my background. Now, what about ozone stem cell technology? We're talking about ozone stem cell technology. We need to understand first off what a stem cell is. Well, a stem cell is the precursor to all cells in the human body. And they are responsible for repairing cells that have become damaged. Yeah. So so that's stem cells are the precursors. Okay, so we have many different cells in our body. We have erythrocytes, which are red blood cells. These red blood cells, what they do is they provide oxygen and nutrition to the tissues in the human body. And I mean, it's really important that we have oxygen. It's really important that we have oxygen, that we have ATP, which is called adenosine triphosphate, which is part of the word Oscar. Okay, Oscar, we spoke about the $6 million man. We spoke about Oscar, the CIA agent. Yeah, Oscar. Remember that, Oscar, O-S-C-A-R, Oscar. Yeah, so Oscar stands for ozone stem cell adenosine redox. Okay. Yeah, that's what it means. Yeah, so Oscar stands for ozone stem cell adenosine redox. All right, let me just go through that. We know what ozone is. Ozone is the oxygen element with an extra molecule added onto it. So O2, yeah, O2 now becomes O3, okay? O2, oxygen, the oxygen molecule now becomes O3. It becomes potent, extremely potent. And what it does, it has the power to modify and to generate oxygen production inside the mitochondria where ATP, adenosine triphosphate activity, chemistry occurs. That's what ozone does, okay? Now, many of you people have heard a lot of negative things about the ozone, but you need to understand that is not the ozone element we're talking about here. The ozone element that we're talking about here is the safe chemistry. It's the safe chemical. We're not talking about the ozone layer, the ozone barrier. We're not talking about the climate warming. We're not talking about ozone layer. No, we're not talking about that. Please understand what I'm saying, yeah? We're talking about O3. Now, the way that O3 is generated is through ultraviolet light, ultraviolet frequency. Now, the ultraviolet frequency was developed by Nikola Tesla. We all know about Nikola Tesla, right? Yeah, you know Nikola Tesla? He was the famous inventor that developed the electrical current. It's called AC. He developed the electrical current, which was then one of the most advanced inventions that he'd ever made. Of course, he was severely persecuted, and he was just robbed. He was robbed. I mean, listen, this man, Nikola Tesla, he had developed technology where he could go to the Empire State Building and he could use his oscillator, and that oscillator had the ability to shake the entire building, the Empire State Building. That's the technology that Nikola Tesla had, okay? And of course, this technology is available today, and it's the military DARPA technology that utilizes it for insane purposes of killing people. Nikola Tesla was a humane person. You know, he had common sense. He was not psychotic. He didn't have any willingness to kill people. You know, he didn't believe in that. But Nikola Tesla believed that electricity should be free. And the reason why he made it his mission to develop free power, free technology, was because of the fact that it was the natural solution. It was the natural solution. It was a product that harnessed the resources of nature, and he directed that science and that technology for the advancement and development of humankind. Now, how many of us have that mindset today? How many of us have the mindset that we want to advance our fellow man? You know, it's just so sad that people are just misguided, and the mindset is greed. It's just pure greed. Pure, evil, satanic greed. That's it. People are motivated by satanic greed. But Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest inventors, never thought that way. So there you go. That's just a little bit about Nikola Tesla and the ultraviolet frequency that added the O3 molecule onto the oxygen molecule. Yeah? And so when you push O3 into the body, now you can push O3 into the body through acupuncture. You can push O3 into the body through cutaneous steam saunas. You can even make a gel out of ozone, where you can embalm the body with ozone. And I mean, you can even do intravenous. You can do intravenous. What do I mean by intravenous? Intravenous is a shot into the arm, and it is there that you actually infuse the body with a massive hit of oxygen, and it sends a rush of all new cells in the body it stimulates a rush of new production of new cells. Stem cells are involved in that facility, in that process. So, you know, you've got erythrocytes, you've got macrophages. Macrophages are the white blood cells. They're the armored tanks. The macrophages are the armored tanks. And it's these cells that go through the body, the human body, and they identify and destroy those rogue cells, those poisonous cells in the body. Now, the way that the macrophages identify and target the toxins, that target the I'll talk a little bit more about redox in a minute. Well, I can talk about that now. I'll talk about redox now. Redox is just it's a chemical term that we use to explain the exchange, the molecular exchange of various cells in the body, so that there is a favorable condition brought about by that exchange of, and so this is exchange of good and bad. Okay, so redox is where a good molecule is exchanged for a bad molecule, and the bad molecule gets wiped out, destroyed. That's redox. Okay, so this is research in cancer therapy. They're using this They're using this type of science for cancer therapy. I mean, listen, if you think chemotherapy is a method, you got to be out of your frigging mind. You know, what is cancer? What is it? Cancer is a fungus. That's all it is. Cancer is a fungus which can be naturally restored, naturally rejuvenated, yeah, by maintaining the pH. The pH is the power of hydrogen, or hydrogen potential. Power of hydrogen in the body. Okay? So when we escalate our pH, now a lot of people who are living in our environment today, their pH is like at a low level. Yeah? I'm talking like 5.9, 6.2. Their pH is at the lowest level when it should be up into the 7.2. We have a scale that we register the pH. You have 0 here, and on this, it should be the other way around. We have 0 here, and here we have 10. It can be more if you want, but that's the highest pH. That's what you'll find. You'll find on the scale, and in the middle you'll have 7, the pH of 7, which is neutral. So you have an acid base, which is 0, and you have an alkaline base, which is 10. And of course, the neutral position is 7. And that's where human beings need to be. We need to be at the 7.2, 7.3. Now, let me just talk a little bit about weather. I'll explain to you the significant physical facts of ozone. Now, have you ever seen a horse? Yeah? You know, cowboys and Indians, right? We all know about cowboys and Indians. Stick them up, you know, ow, right? No, I'm not talking about cowboys and Indians. I'm talking about a horse, which the cowboy rides, yeah? Okay, so I'm talking about horses. Now, when I was a young boy, I was always excited. I grew up around horses. I had 5 horses. And it was my job to look after and care for those horses. So, you know, I have a love for westerns. My mother put me on a horse when I was young. I was 7. I think I was, no, probably younger, 6, 7, maybe 7. I was 7 or 8 years old when my mother put me on a horse. And in Australia, it's something that we do. Australians love to ride horses. It's just our nature. We like to. I'm sure you've seen some of the early history of our nation, and you know, the cattle and the sheep, and that was part of our early heritage is horseback. Yeah. So going back to the horse. As a young child, I would view horses running wild in a storm. You know, lightning. You know, you'd rain and lightning. The sky is black, and you know, you'd see the lightning fly through the. You know, you'd hear a crack and thunder, right? The crack and thunder is what Nikola Tesla harnessed. He harnessed that technology, he harnessed that science, and he designed the ultraviolet. And so that's why we have the rainbow at the end of rain. Once again, the rainbow is just another sign of ozone, the ozone factor. And what you will notice, we need to understand why the horses were wild. Why did the horse run wild through the paddock during a storm? It's because of ozone. Okay, ozone. We know what it's like. Even I live near the ocean. I've lived near the ocean all my life. I am from the Gold Coast. I am from the Gold Coast. Yes, I grew up in Sydney, but my early childhood is from the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And so living near the beach has always been a part of my history and a part of my repertoire. And yeah, being part of the Surf Livers Association, being a part of swimming and a part of exercise and all of those things. You know, I just love the beach. I just love the sand, and I'm just so glad to be happy. I'm so glad to be in Vung Tau. I'm so happy to be in Vietnam, to be near the beach. So yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. But going back to stem cell. So stem cells is what triggers new cells. Okay. One thing that I didn't finish is I was talking to you about the macrophages. One thing that I forgot to say was that these macrophages have the information technology. They have the awareness of toxicity in the body only through target cells, T cells. And so T cells are those cells that target toxins. And what they do is they put a red flag. They find the toxin and bang, they put the red flag in that toxin so that the macrophage can identify what that cell is. Okay? So when the macrophages come along and they see that, and they see the red flag, they know it's a toxin. That's what T cells do. And T cells are produced here through the thymus gland, the thyroid. Sorry, not the thyroid, the thymus. The thyroid gland is what controls our metabolism. Okay? But it's the thymus gland that produces T cells. And it's one of those cells that has that has an issue with immunodeficiency, acquired immunodeficiency. Yeah, AIDS. Okay, which is what is contracted through the homosexual community. Okay, so I'm not against homosexuality. I don't believe it's natural, but we need to understand that these viruses that are part of the immune system is what the T cell identifies and tracks. Okay, so the AIDS virus is something that I believe the AIDS virus was manufactured. All right, I don't believe that it's some rogue virus that has just popped out of the heavens. No. AIDS is a manufactured laboratory virus. Okay, you can do some. You can go to Glenn Beck and do some research on that. Very interesting research. So the T cell is what is not manufactured in the AIDS illness. All right, the AIDS illness destroys the ability for the thymus gland to produce target cells, and therefore that's why they get infected and they get very sick, they lose weight, etc., etc., and eventually they die. So, you know, it's an actual fact that all of us have this virus in our bodies. Everyone has the AIDS virus. Everyone has the fungus virus. We all have it because it's been designed in a laboratory and it has been designed to be in your body. Okay. You can thank Lucifer for that one. Okay. It's part of the Luciferian movement. You should do some research on that. Very interesting. But anyway, coming back to Nikola Tesla, coming back to ozone technology, stem cell technology, which is what we do here. And has there been anything that I've missed? Has there been anything that I further want to say? Maybe I can just sum up this. Steve Austin, $6 million man, is here in Boongtao at the OSC Stem Cell Center. Okay, that's where we do professional consultations. This is Dr. Jeffrey Hunter, who has completed a 2-year master's degree at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm also an examiner, an accredited examiner for the state of New South Wales for examining remedial sports practitioners. So I've also worked with Bruce McPhee, who is the world champion kickboxer. Dr. Hunter managed Mr. McPhee at Noosa in Queensland, and it was through the research that I was conducting in Noosa in regards to ozone stem cell research that Mr. McPhee has his expertise. Okay, his performance was increased by 85% by the use of stem cell technology, and that's why he is the world champion. Have a great day. This is Jeffrey Hunter from the OSC Centre at Boongtao. Phone number is 01212 006 1909. Please contact us up there. Sorry, here, yeah, up there. You can see deep acute pain reduction therapy. Please have a look at our centre, what we're doing, and go ahead and click on the like button. And also, please come and be a member of the Chiropractic Sports Injury Management group, where I will be sharing lots of new information on chiropractic and sports injury management technology and development. Okay, all right. Love you guys very much. Yeah, take care. Thank you. See you another day. Bye bye.